To be entirely honest, I'm lost for words. This chapter was absolutely heartbreaking and in all the best ways possible. See, I was super excited to see what direction Akutami would take Maki, how this would revolutionize her, how it would evolve and allow her to spread her wings further. And when we finally got introduced to Ugi and Maki about to fight him, this was a very good starting point, because to me, she's always been a reflection of Toji, someone that eventually could get up to his level. And for a while, a lot of us have been shaky on that idea because of how prominent Toji is, how absolutely impressive he can be. To say that he is powerful is an understatement. That man is a monster. So how would Maki ever reach that level? What would she have to go through and what would she have to sacrifice? So when the previous chapter came around after a very long hiatus, I was definitely nervous for her development. I was nervous for her growth, but I was excited at the same time. Seeing her fight the trauma that was in front of her past, her own ideology, what she believed in, what she basically crumbles around. At that point in time, she had no stability within herself. She didn't believe in herself. And a big reason for that was because of Mai. She felt like she couldn't live up to the standards to bring Mai up with her, which the sisterly bond between them is very impressive. Shaky in terms of logistics, but beautiful in design. She means well for Mai and vice versa. They were both brought up within a very abusive and detrimental household that affected them tremendously. It's not a value of who had it worse. They both experienced completely different things, but both filled with so much trauma, and it all came from their family and their father. The previous chapter set that up perfectly, and this chapter capitalizes on it in easily the best way possible. Ugi deems Mai and Maki as failures, and you can see his egotistical side that is built within the Zenin family come out to play. That because Maki and Mai are failures and could never live up to the expectation, they always got in his way, whether it be towards his brother or just as a sorcerer in general, alongside everything to do with the family and the reputation that it upholds. Even with his own egotistical ways, he was still too much of a coward to kill both of them himself, which I find extremely ironic, because there's no showcase or shed of love or guilt or hidden burdens or feelings towards his daughters. He despises them. Yet being the egotistical coward that he is, he couldn't bring an end to them himself. He threw both of them within this chamber that is filled with curses all the way around. What I assume is very similar or even the exact same one as Toji, with the way Toji broke his heavenly restriction and everything that he experienced as a child. I would assume this would be the very same place. So now we have Maki and Mei in a very dangerous predicament. Both of them are heavily injured and dying. Ugi won't do anything to finish them off or to ease their pain. Instead, he wants to allow them to suffer. He wants to punish them again, even on death's door, which reiterates that cowardice approach. Unfortunately for him, he wouldn't realize this would be his downfall, as his underestimation of both Maki and Mei is way too far, and he is completely blindsided by his own ignorance, his own ego, ideals, and the perception of his daughters. He always deemed them as failures, as problematic, worthless, hence why there's so much trauma and hatred born into them, things they have both experienced. He expected nothing from them. Yet within this very same position, knocking on death's door, no other option of where to go, a sacrifice is made. One that changes the course of the story completely, and more specifically Maki. What I personally love about this is that it's not Maki's power born from witnessing Mai's death. It has no correlation to that whatsoever. Instead, this is a combining of forces. This is a joining of hands. This is understanding themselves. And what helps us even further is Mai's interpretation of both of them. This is something that Maki was missing for a very long time. She always separated herself from Mai. Even though they are twins, she put herself on a power system, on a power pedestal, that because Mai has this and because I have this, we are inherently different. Even though we are twins, we are very far apart. And you could easily add that this is Maki's misinterpretation of Mai and herself because of the household that she was raised in, one that is very power orientated and dominated, where a pedestal or a structure is automatically born ever since a child comes into the world and either gains or doesn't gain a technique or cursed energy. So be it long-winded, I apologize. But what makes this very beautiful is that the problems that Maki had with herself was something she never recognized as being a byproduct or a creation of the household that she was raised in. She blamed herself for the way she viewed everyone else, for the way she viewed Mai, and felt like she had to grab onto this power so desperately to help Mai up with her, to overthrow the family, to overcome that trauma. But in reality, that perception itself is already warped because of the trauma that she's gone through, because of the power structure that she's been implemented within and the mindset that comes from it. She's had no control over that. So when Mai flips that perspective and says that we are not different, we are one and the same, you are me and I am you, it deeply changes things. It hits you on an emotional level, it hits Maki on an emotional level. Her understanding of the situation has been wrong this entire time. And even Mai goes the lengths of saying that she knew something like this was going to happen, where one of them would be on death's door and the other would potentially have to save them. A sacrifice would have to be made. But she was happy with it. She came to terms with it. She accepted it. Within their final moments, you see a very beautiful place created, which is Mai's innate technique. And obviously her doing this means that she is basically dead. She cannot create this massive of a technique unless she's about to leave. This is her final goodbye, her final breath. So she gives all of this beautiful information, all of this beautiful perspective and understanding towards Maki and herself, which makes Maki realize herself that Maki and Mai are two different sides of the same coin. That even if Mai disappears, she will still live within Maki. So Maki can still accomplish her goals with Mai by her side. To make that even more concrete, she leaves Maki a gift, but also takes something away. Any sort of cursed energy that Maki had is now gone. Mai has pulled it away alongside her death. But in return, she leaves Maki a weapon, one that is constructed borderline out of her soul. At least that's the interpretation I took from it. This weapon, this cursed tool, is quite literally Mai, as they are both one of the same. Two individuals that are so inherently linked from core to core. We jump back to the normal reality. All of these curses are surrounding them and Maki wakes up. And while Ugi is strolling away, happy with his decision and not even caring about anything, because that's just how he is, he feels the presence of every single curse vanish within an instant. Obviously that's rather shocking considering the two people he threw down there were on death's door, only for him to look back and see Maki with this brand new sword and being a parallel and a reflection of Toji, having both panels of them side by side, a brand new human being, but one that is evolved. One that has taken the exact same footsteps as Toji, so much so that Ugi's body remembers the experience he felt when seeing Toji within that state. Do you know how much terror Toji has influenced? Do you know how much of an intense aura that character oozes? For Maki to channel it and to be a perfect reflection of it within her own way is such a scary boost in growth. Ugi doesn't get scared. He doesn't get shocked or run away. He instantly pulls out what I assume to be his most powerful attack because he is in fear of what is going on. His body has automatically done it for him because of the presence Maki now holds. If that doesn't show how impressive this situation is, how scary her boost of power truly is, I don't know what would. This is the best indication of Maki's growth, that she is now on a level of Toji and her projection is quite literally in the same realm as him. She may not be as powerful as him now, but she's enough to mimic the first time he ever stood out of that pit, the first time Toji broke that heavenly restriction and became the monster that he is today. Ugi doesn't stand a chance. As much as his body instantly pulls out this attack, within a fraction of a second, he's also just as much dead. The top half of his head completely sliced off, with Maki showing no sort of emotion to him whatsoever, cutting down her past, her trauma, the person that brought her down to this level, and also the person in the family that quite literally killed off her sister. For her to do this with such simplicity, with such ease, probably easily puts her on the same level as Yuta. And with the Culling Games coming up, her growth is only going to get quicker and quicker, and her evolution is going to be tremendous. This brings an end to the chapter, with a very nice double spread of a lot of things going on. Ugi's head coming off completely, some birds flying off, paying homage to Mai obviously, but also Maki spreading her wings, and Maki saying to Mai, let's start. This was through and through a beautiful chapter. It was heartbreaking and absolutely broke me, but I loved every moment of it. I cherished every moment of it. I was waiting for this for the longest of times, and I wasn't sure how Akutami would play upon it, but I am more than happy and impressed with the way he went. I know there's going to be a percentage of people that are sad or upset, maybe even a little bit angry that Mai has been killed off. And that's perfectly alright to feel that way, but just know that this story has been built off the foundation of give and take. And with this interpretation of Maki and Mai, they live on through each other. There's no other family or character dynamic within this story that would work this well. These two are going to thrive together. They're going to completely obliterate the family that traumatized them, and they're going to evolve into something else entirely. I am more than excited to see her response to Naoya and everyone else within the family, because quite easily she could dismantle it within seconds, within a singular minute if she wanted to. I love this for her, and I'm more than keen to see what exactly the culling game produces and throws towards her direction. How she utilizes this newfound perspective and understanding of her own ability, her own power, and where it takes her. The new heights and accomplishments she will achieve, with Mai right by her side. So with that being said, that is basically it. I absolutely love this chapter, so I'm very curious to know what you think. How do you feel about Maki and Mai? Maybe the newfound power and evolution of Maki's character, or how sad did you think it was? I'd love to hear your thoughts. But I want to thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Drink plenty of water. New video every 3 days, and I will see you within the next one. Goodbye.